It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Good Friday to you. Hopefully you are embracing today's day as the first day of the rest of your life. We got a lot to talk about on today. Our social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. At the Mike Prince Show, the YouTube channel, Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our website is obnradio.com. Our 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736. And without any further delay, we'll jump right into today's episode. Today's episode has been made possible by the good people from the Attorney Office of Lee Van Richardson, located at 1047 Austin Street in Hempstead, Texas. Lee Van Richardson is an attorney in practice for over 20 years, and they are very qualified and bona fide to serve whatever your need may be. You can set an appointment with him today by dialing 979-826-8008. Well, there's no doubt about it that purple and gold game took place on last night, and we're going to go in a little bit more detail with that. We are going to hear from head football coach Eric Dooley on Monday to wrap things up, but we're going to have a little special treat for you on this Good Friday. We'll hear from offensive coordinator Ted White and talk about some of the things that he saw from his OC glasses on last night's performance. But before we get into that, we are going to break down the SWAC baseball race as it stands on this Good Friday. Of course, the Panthers are not scheduled to be in a series of competition for the conference. They, along with Pine Bluff, Grambling, and Alcorn, have series weekends off. But there are some huge games starting today that are going to set the tempo for the rest of the baseball race. Alabama State will be at Alabama A&M. Mississippi Valley will be at Jackson State. And the one that the Panthers will be watching, and just about everyone else from the West, Texas Southern, will be at Southern University. Now, the standings for the Southwestern Athletic Conference baseball divisional eastern side has Alabama State on top with a 15-3 record. Jackson State, number 2 with 9-6. Alabama A&M, 8-10. Mississippi Valley, 5-9. And Alcorn at 4-13. So that Mississippi Valley, Jackson State could flip Valley from 3-2, pending that they take care of business. Now, they'll have a doubleheader scheduled for today. Yesterday's game was postponed because of bad weather. So they'll try to get 2 in today and then close out Sunday on Resurrection Sunday. Meanwhile, in the West, Southern University is at 12-2, Grambling's at 11-6, Prairie View is at 8-9, Texas Southern's at 7-8, and Pine Bluff is at 2-14. So the Panthers will be idle, and they'll be watching how Texas Southern fares out. If we were to go heavy on one end, if Texas Southern were able to pick up the sweep against Southern University, they would end up at 10-8, and that would catapult them to a game and a half or 2 games behind Grambling State. Meanwhile, Southern University, if they were to win 3, they would improve to 15-2 and kind of separate themselves from the rest of the pack in the western side of the division. So a lot on the table for this weekend, as the Panthers will have to sit from afar. And if you're PV, who are you rooting for right now? Are you rooting for Texas Southern, or are you rooting for Southern University? Because you do have Southern University at home on the final conference series coming down the road, and you can kind of take care of business for yourself. Or do you ask Southern to help you out a little bit against your rival? That would be an interesting concept, but nonetheless, it will all unfold beginning today.
Hello, TV Nation. It's Kimberly Runnels, your National Alumni Association president, just wanting to invite everyone, alumni and friends, to our 45th annual National Alumni Convention held at the Houston City Place Marriott in Spring, Texas. The date, July 25th through the 27th, 2019. Don't miss it. Fellowship with other alumni. We have a networking seminar occurring, and of course the Athletic Summit returns as well. Soon, registration information will be available. So don't miss 3 fabulous days at the Houston City Place Marriott in Spring, Texas.
And of course, everyone is excited about last night's purple and gold game. Spring football coming to a crescendo. Purple team victorious by the score of 48-30. Now, for the breakdown purposes and intents, the purple team consisted of the first offense and the second defense. And so leading the charge for the purple offense was Jalen Morton and TJ Starks at the quarterbacking position. The gold team obviously had the first defense and the second offense. And the second offense was led by Trayvon Connolly and Mr. Nico Hollins. As we mentioned, the final score was 48-30. Here's some numbers on Morton. Morton finished the game as the leading passer. He had 216 yards, 15 of 18 as far as his completions were going. Morton was really, really hot, especially early on. He threw for 2 touchdowns. Dewanye Tucker looking in full stride. He had a total of 113 yards rushing, added with a touchdown. Tristan Wallace looking in rare form, 120 yards receiving. Now for the gold team, Nico Hollins was the leading passer with 204 yards, 11 of 19. Now, Nico, of course, lost a lot of weight, 25 pounds to be exact. Still not the fastest fella in the world, but he understands the process, understands what needs to be done, and how things need to be done. Now, of course, we'll be talking in more detail with the breakdown of the purple and gold game with Coach Eric Dooley. That'll be coming to you on Monday. Mosley was the leading rusher for the gold team with 63 yards, 2 touchdowns. Todd Maxwell collected 90 yards in the air for the gold team. Now, what was interesting was Jalen Morton was quoted at the end of the game, and he was saying he already knew that it was going to be a tough battle between he and the other teams. Now, this is what was funny. He said the gold team had the superior defense, and the purple team had the superior offense. So if you were to break this down, technically speaking, remember Jalen Morton and TJ Starks were the quarterbacks for the purple team. So if we were to hypothetically think outside the box or think out loud, going into the spring game, was it Jalen Morton, number 1 quarterback, TJ Starks, number 2, and then for the goal, was it Trayvon Connolly, number 3, and Nico Hollins, number 4? Those are some of the questions that we'll ask Coach Dooley when we get together on Monday. If that were the case, you would have to insinuate that Nico's stock climbed significantly. Now, I do know that it was spring football, and for the most part, offenses are normally slightly ahead, and that's to be expected. And then also to speak in regards of the transfer TJ Starks, who we know that Coach Dooley has a lot of high expectations on. He is that prototypical Eric Dooley type quarterback, that dual threat, can run and throw. But we have to give him credit. 15 days involved in the system, not bad, but it's evident that if TJ wants to be the man, he's going to have to put in some extra hours. Now, another thing that was always on my radar, and we want to make sure that it's addressed, was your long snapping and your kicking game. I personally would have liked to see some kicking competition for Zach Elder. Zach Elder did good, always has been. He's one of my favorite guys. But you always want somebody that's going to push that guy to the next level. And also the long snapping. Desmond Callaway was the only long snapper. And you want to see that position challenged as well. Of course, we know there were a couple of mishaps with some long snaps. In particular, what's standing out to me right now with the Rice game and the Sam Houston game. Those games were early, but those games were very critical in the overall outcome for Panthers football. And another surprise was Story Jackson. Story Jackson is a JUCO transfer who switched positions from running back to linebacker. And I got to tell you, the brother looked very impressive flying across the field, making plays. So it'd be interesting to see how that unfolds. And of course, I am going to keep on monitoring the trench situation, the O-line and the D-line. Coach Dooley has assured that help is on the way. He was pleased to a degree on how things were shaping up. Help is on the way with the O-line and the D-line in that regards. Last night was the night, the purple and gold game of 78 total points scored. And I have on the line with me right now a man who is responsible for those 78, at least conjuring up the plays. Offensive coordinator Ted White. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay, Mike. How you doing this morning?
Man, you know what? I am blessed and highly favored. A special weekend for me in particular, but it's all good. We got some football underneath us, man, and we're about to talk this thing up and give us your insights on what you saw on last night's game.
Last night it was just the icing on the cake. You know, I thought the guys came out. They played with the passion. They played with the intensity of wanting to get that bad taste out their mouths from last year. You know, guys played with a chip on their shoulder. You know, as you know, Coach Dooley and spring football is always, you know, a particular approach to the season. So we try to treat spring practice like the season, you know. So we had a lot of new guys in as far as transfers and junior college guys who had an opportunity to get acclimated to what we do and how we do it. And the guys came out and they had fun. You know, Coach Dooley split the teams up to where it was a purple and a gold team. And those guys competed. They competed and they had a real good time. And, you know, we were victorious. I was on the purple team. Coach Fredericks and Coach Bailey and Coach KJ Black, those guys were on the gold team. And we competed. We competed. We had a good time. And at the end of the day, we shook hands and we understand that the ultimate goal is to beat Texas Southern when we play those guys in August.
Absolutely. August 31st will be here before we could even bat an eye real good. And I'm going to leave some of the personnel questions that I would have until we get to Coach Dooley. But as the offensive coordinator, what is it that you were looking for last night as a good measurement on the growth that this team has taken since you guys first arrived on the scene?
Well, one thing I think Coach Dooley does a great job on, everything is game simulation, even in practice. So it was an opportunity as a coaching staff for us to be able to get from behind the players and see them react in game situations. All right, so when you get a player that reacts in game situations, now you will actually see how those guys will play the game. And I think some of the guys did a great job. Jalen Martin, Tony Mullins, and I'm just talking about the guys that are on my team. Tony Mullins, I think the offensive line did a real good job. Nico Hollins. Nico Hollins came in and he did an excellent job. So guys like that, it's amazing to see those guys grow, but it's also amazing to see those guys compete at a high level every single day. Not only compete on the football field, but compete in the classroom as well, compete in the meeting rooms also.
Yes, sir, because it's all about growth on and off the field, and it's always exciting. Now, I've spoken with you guys individually and collectively, and some teams do not have the fortune of having spring football in those 20 days of practices, and that can be a very impactful thing on a program. And how vital are these spring games and these spring practices?
It is very vital because, like I said, you get an opportunity to get a kid in December, whether it's a transfer or a junior college guy, and he gets an opportunity to go through your all-season program with you. Not only gets an opportunity to go through the all-season program, but he gets an opportunity to go through spring practice. So when you're talking about spring practice as far as installing your system, whether it's offensively or defensively, and him getting an understanding, just your philosophy on how you want to do things, and now being able to carry that into the summer. And as coaches, we can't definitely be out there on the field with them with a ball on the summer, but now you're talking about the freshman guys coming in also, and the older guys like Jalen Martin, Nico Hollins, Tristan Wallace, all of those guys now taking younger guys up under the wing and teaching them things that they learned in the spring and almost being an extension of a coach.
Absolutely.
And spring football is very vital, and I think we utilize that, and Coach Dooley does a great job of making sure guys understand the philosophy on how we want to do things, and and it carries on into the summer.
Another thing, Coach, it also builds camaraderie amongst the players themselves because they get to know each other's personalities, their hot and cold buttons off the field as well as on the field, and you build these brotherhoods that end up lasting a lifetime.
Absolutely, and one of our top players, Wayne Tucker, he stood up in the locker room and he talked about that yesterday after the game, just making sure that guys continue to work hard, not only continue to work hard, but when the younger guys come in, as far as the high school guys in summer school, that they now know how to do things, and now the camaraderie with the team is a brotherhood. And that's more important than anything, Mike, because if I know you and you're my brother, hey, I'm going to play a little harder for you. And, that means a lot, definitely to myself as well as Coach Dooley.
Yes, sir. And that's what really is a fascinating thing for me from an athletic point of view. A lot of people, yes, it's about wins and losses. That's no doubt. But it's also about building his character, building leadership, and dealing with adversity in a right now moment. One thing about it, you can't stop the train from coming, baby, when you're being pummeled. There are some days where you're going to be doing the pummeling, and there are some days you'll be getting pummeled, and that attitude of just weathering the storm is always a fascinating trait for me, being involved with athletics.
Absolutely, and we try to talk to those guys every day, not just more about football, but just about everyday life. And I've been very blessed to be in a situation to where I've had an opportunity to play at a historically black college, be able to go to the NFL from a historically black college. But also because I'm a coach, okay, and because I'm an educator, being able to utilize the things that I learned throughout my journey for football, being able to pour that back into the kids and understand that you do use everything that you learn in football in everyday life. And if they understand the big picture of that, I think they have a successful life.
You hit the nail right on the head with that one, my brother. Coach Ted White, offensive coordinator for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers, giving a recap of the purple and gold game that took place on last night. Remember, you can get your season tickets by simply dialing 936-261-9100. Can't do it today, but I'm pretty sure Monday they'll be ready to take care of you. Now, Coach, I'm going to put you on a little mild hot spot right now from your offensive coordinator glasses, if you would. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the greatest, how would you rate yesterday's performance, and what would you like to see improvement upon?
I would say a 7. As a coach, you're never satisfied with the product that you have on the field. I think we need to get a little more physical at the offensive line position. It was a couple drives in spring game yesterday that we kind of stalled a little bit. And one of our goals going into spring football is that we want to score on every single drive, and we want to score on every single drive. So it'll be hard on the punter because the punter will be on the sideline. All right, but that's the goals and that's the standards that we have for ourselves, and that's the standards that Coach Dooley has for this offensive football team. And, I think those guys have done a great job so far, all right, but the best is yet to come. Those guys, Wanye Tucker and Jalen Morton and Kristen Mosley and Tristan Wallace and all of those guys, they're still chomping at the bit. They're still chomping at the bit. And Mike, we got a bad taste in our mouth from last year. We felt like we left a couple games on the table. We felt like we were in the driver's seat. So everything that we do this year is going to be with a chip on our shoulder. And we're going to make sure that we don't let up. We're going to make sure that we stay hungry. And we're going to make sure that we reach out for potential.
So the theme would be clean your plate.
It'd be clean your plate. His philosophy is, it's enough food at the table. You just got to sit down.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clean your plate, eat everything you put on your plate, and there's always room to go back for seconds and finish what you start. Well, Coach, man, I really and truly thank you for making yourself available. You've been a man to your word. You said any time that we need to get together, you were always available. And for those who are listening, this is not a behind your back interview from Coach Dooley. He's given the clearance on that, and so we do understand protocol. And our job here is to give you hot, detailed, in-depth information on our beloved Prairie View A&M University Panthers and beyond. Coach, with that being said, I'm gonna give you some closing thoughts and comments.
I appreciate you, Mike. Just I know you're a hard-working man. It's early on Good Friday. And, man, you do the best to get your job done. And I appreciate you giving us the coverage and looking after the football team and making sure that we get the proper recognition that we deserve. I think the kids are working hard during the spring. And now we go into a transition of definitely getting into the summer. Getting into the summer, we're getting the high school guys coming in for summer school. The guys are finishing strong in their classes and making sure that they're doing everything they need to do academic-wise. And, man, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit, and we're definitely looking for a good season this year.
The sky is the limit. The Panther is on the rise, and we'll be there to rise with them each and every way. He is offensive coordinator Ted White. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Remember our social media handles for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or at The Mike Prince Show. Our YouTube channel is Open Mic Broadcast Network. Our website is obnradio.com, and our 24-hour dial-in message line, 713-570-6736. Until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.